Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to Blue Jays Strike Zone with Marty Roberts, the grizzled young veteran. He hasn't changed his shirt since last night. Billy hasn't changed his shirt from last night. Where's Norm Rumack when I need it? I need his balls. All right, speak about balls and strikes here. Speak about balls and strikes here. Let's look at yesterday. Bassett showed his balls to Chicago. He pitched his all game there. He had all strikes and all that. Marty Roberts laughing away there, but it wasn't laughable as the Blue Jays beat the White Sox. Charlie Montoyo's return to Toronto.
Yeah, Charlie still has the same look sitting in the visitor's dugout, doesn't he? Like that, am I here? What am I doing here? Type of look. You know, Bassett threw well. He did. But I was kind of surprised that he took himself out of the game in the sixth inning there. He called Schneider out, but never went to the train or anything like that. I was sort of surprised by that. But, you know, outside that first game against St. Louis, he's actually done really good and exactly what I expected. And, you know, the bats came through when they were needed.
All right, Billy, what do you say?
He's pitching. Absolutely. Bassett's pitch well, obviously off to a dubious start, but you can tell on that pitch it was about a 45-footer, so obviously felt something there and came and got him. He's a veteran guy, right? So obviously when he goes to the dugout and he makes the call, he knows his body pretty good. He's been around. But I'm more concerned, like, not only Montoya, but the White Sox in general. Is there a bigger disappointment in terms of Major League Baseball than the Chicago White Sox? You take a look at that pitching staff. You take a look at some of their guys. Obviously, you lose Abreu, but at 7-16, they got to be arguably at this point in time the most disappointing team in Major League Baseball, without a doubt.
And we said Chicago when we did Marty, when we did the season preview, that the White Sox could win with the Twins up there to win the Central.
Yeah, they obviously have been. Their starting rotation. Look at it. They got Lynn, they got Cease, they got Giolito. You think they would be all right. But Lynn is obviously starting to show his age a little bit, walking a few more guys. You know, Cease isn't having the same type of year he had last year. Giolito. So I don't know. I don't know what's. Everyone thought it was the old man coaching the team last year was the issue. So they got rid of him and they brought in new guys, and it's probably worse than what it was last year at any point, right? So who knows what's going to happen in Chicago? You know, like Billy said, 7-16 to start the year. They better switch something, and at least their closers cancer free now. Maybe he comes back and that gives them a shot in the arm, and they can turn things around. But they haven't looked good for the first few games.
Hey, and also in fairness too, Tim Anderson at the top of the order would be akin to what George Springer is for the Blue Jays in terms of getting that offense going. You see the lineup 1 through 9, and it's got holes everywhere, right? Offensively challenged. Some of your guys are not pitching, but the saving grace for that club is they're in the AL Central, right? And nobody's really taken off there. Even at 7-16, they're not that far behind in terms of early in the year. You're 7-16 in the AL East. You might be preparing for next year, right? With Tampa Bay at what is it now, 20-3, and continuing to roll over a good Houston team that was coming in playing good baseball.
All right, let's do a preview of tonight's game. 7:07 first pitch at the Rogers Center. Barrios pitching for the Blue Jays here. Marty, I'll start off with you. Up and down, but with Bassett, you know, steadily doing his thing. Now, if they could get Barrios there, because they got Kikuchi going on and all that, maybe the Blue Jays found something here.
Well, Barrios is you could tell. A lot of the times it's up in his head that the issue is. Like when he starts to struggle, he doesn't know how to get himself out of it. It hasn't been his skill set. Like he still, you know, has that breaking ball. He has the fastball that tails a lot. It's for him when he gets in trouble, for some reason he gets a little bit more down on himself, and it takes some time to get out. Last game, that didn't happen. He was actually pretty damn good last game. We could get that with the rest of the starting staff. It's a tough 5 rotation that you got going on there, and then you see what bats can come in, and that's so you know what, Barrios, I'm looking for him to carry on to what he did in the last game and do that again tonight with Toronto versus Chicago.
All right, Billy, I'm going to ask you this. We're 23 games in, all right, 22, 23 games in. What has surprised you with the Blue Jays, and what has disappointed you thus far with the Blue Jays? I'm not going to say 95 wins, 84 wins, or whatever. Right now, to this date, what surprised you and what's disappointed you?
The surprise for me is the offensive prowess of Chapman at third base. Given the way that I saw him and the holes in his swing, especially with high fastballs over the last 2 years, I didn't think he had it in him to make the adjustments. I thought Chapman would be resigned to be a Gold Glove guy that bats you 220, 230, maybe pops 20 home runs. And obviously, he's shown glimpses of the guy he was prior to coming in Toronto. We never saw the real Chapman at the plate last year. Maybe it was hurt, maybe he was coming off an injury. So obviously, for me, that's the biggest surprise. And in terms of disappointments, it all comes down to the bullpen for me. I'm still, even though it hasn't been egregious for me, it's still an area of concern. And until it's addressed, and again, maybe with the call up of Pearson, maybe that'll be addressed. I'm looking for a little more power of the bullpen. I'm never confident in Garcia, even though he has his good moments. He can go 2 weeks and not give up a run and dominate, and still the next time out, I'm thinking he's going to get lit up. That's just in the back of my head. Whether I'm off the mark on that, that's how I see things, right? And the same applies for Bass. The same applies for every single guy that comes out of the bullpen. I just think it's a matter of time before they get lit up, and I wouldn't trust any one of them with a game on the line, right? But maybe Pearson's a guy that can move guys down a notch, and that eighth inning for me is the telltale sign for the Blue Jays moving forward. You can't lose more than, say, at tops, you can't lose more than 4 games in a season from the eighth inning on when you have a lead, I believe, to win a pennant. You can't afford late because, as Marty knows, when you lose games late, that deflates a club more than anything else you can do. More than anything else in the game, that deflates a locker room worse than anything, is losing games late. So hopefully that's the case in the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays solve that issue internally with Pearson.
All right, so I'll ask Marty this, okay? Marty, same question to you. When Seattle's coming in after Chicago, they play Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and then Seattle, because I know Billy wants to see Teoscar Hernandez, and all that. But if the position is there, is Pearson your eighth inning guy?
You know what? He has the stuff to be the eighth inning guy. There's no question. He has the stuff to be the closer if they need to be that. This guy has been, their top guy since he was drafted years ago. And for some reason, other injuries creeped in on him. And then for some reason, the Jays fell out of love with him. I think he's found his area in the bullpen. He has. And he did enough with AAA, 8 innings, 16 strikeouts. He did enough to be called up. We'll see if he can do it. If the stage is too big for him, I don't think it is. But he could be that 8-inning guy if his stuff is clicking. You have him coming in, throwing his 100-mile-an-hour with the slider, and now the curveball's looking pretty good as well. That's a pretty good 8-9 combination you got there.
Marty, without a doubt, Shapiro and Atkins have fielded a shit ton of calls in terms of Pearson trying to find him on the cheap, trying to see if the Blue Jays have given up on him. So for him not to have been shipped out in any of the deals, because no matter what you say, that organizations still see an upside, and they're always looking at see if they can get this guy on a relative bargain basement deal. And it's a testament to the Jays that they've held on to him. So obviously they still believe in him, but again, it all comes down to health with this kid, right? And if you can't stay healthy, then how many kicks at the can really do you get, right? So
if he's the 8th inning guy, I'll start off with you, Billy. Does Garcia go to 7th and pop 7th and 6th then? Because does everything fall in place?
If it's for me, here's what I don't want in the 8th inning. Here's what I don't want. Well, here's what I don't want at any time. I don't want guys susceptible to 3-run homers. And Garcia, if you see him, he throws a straight fastball. He throws it up in the zone. We saw against the Yankees. We've seen against Houston that he's susceptible to leaving one up in the zone, and then the score changes automatically. Whereas Pop, it's difficult to get the ball in the air on that guy. You might string together 3-4 hits and put a rally together in Houston. But with his pitches, kind of compared to Holmes out of New York, that he's less inclined to have the ball in the air. So for me, I gotta believe today, I trust Pop more than Garcia in a spot.
And Pop too is coming with the slider. Sliders, it's not the greatest, but it's getting guys off of the sinker. And we saw it against Chicago last night. I think Robert that was up at the plate. He chased the slider outside, and he came in with that nasty sinker inside, and Robert couldn't do anything about it. And that's what Pop's job is to do. That sinker, what happens is it gets ground balls. And then they bring him in situations with man on first to turn that double play. And that's what Pop's for. The only thing that surprised me about Pop is with that kind of stuff, you would think he would always average more than a guy, strikeout a guy an inning for sure. This year he's doing it. Years past he has. I think he's doing it this year because the slider.
It's the slider. You hit it right on the nail. You hit the head on the nail because if you only throw one pitch, obviously at some points in time, guys are going to be able to put the ball in play to handle it. But just the diversity in pitches, looking both sides of the plate, obviously breaking ball, obviously that's why his strikeout to walk ratio and his strikeout per 9 innings gone up. And again, it's just testament to the Blue Jays and their belief in the guy. And you can tell right away the organization has confidence in the guy and putting him in spots that he came into spring training as the 8th guy. He's not the 8th guy today. He's surpassed. Well, obviously, anybody and their mother can surpass Richards. Simber came down with a rather mysterious element after a shaky 9th inning in the Bronx. So obviously, those two guys, and then you're looking at a back end. He's, in my estimation, and it's probably not rocket science, he surpassed Bass as well, right? So right now it's Pop, Garcia, and Swanson. In what particular, I don't know. But again, none of those guys. And maybe I'm wrong on Swanson. I've never been high on the guy. I don't like a guy coming out of the bullpen 92, 93 in innings, irrespective of the forkball and the K rate in the swing. I don't care. I want a guy 97, 98. I want a guy that can blow balls. That can blow balls. Fuck Jesus. How did that come out? Need a guy that can blow
Norm
balls.
on the mind. You got Norm on the mind. All right. So
you want a guy that can get. You want a guy swing and miss guy. You don't want balls in play in the 8th and 9th inning. And maybe Swanson's that guy. And if he is, I'll come on here in a month or 2 or 3, and I'll admit I was wrong. I got no problem doing that. But at this point in time, I don't trust him as far as I can throw him.
Okay, Marty, we got a couple minutes left. I want to touch on the National League. The Pittsburgh Pirates are first place in the Central. They're 16-7 as we do this. And Arizona's first place in the West here. Now, Pittsburgh 16-7. They should be 7-16. They're notorious for that. We talked about surprising. Can they hold up and maybe be like 85, 88, 90 wins?
Well, it's the same thing the National League is in the American League in the Central Division. It's anyone's ball game there. There's no one that's standing out there, and Pittsburgh jumping out there early. Do you expect them? I don't know if you do, but we didn't expect Baltimore to do what they did last year either, and they kept up the whole year. So Pirates might be a team that can keep it up, especially being in the Central Division. St. Louis has got off to a slow start. Milwaukee's playing pretty good ball right now. But, Pittsburgh's a bit of a surprise there in the Central. But, again, it's the Central Division. And for Arizona, another one, that West is a little bit surprising to me because I think the leader, which is Arizona, is only one game over 500 right now. The Dodgers are one, and then everyone else is below 500. That's a bit of a surprise in that division. San Diego is really surprising me in the West. Like, I thought they would be heads and shoulders better than everyone else in that division this year. They just haven't clicked yet. Now Tatis is back. Will he be a piece that helps them? I don't know. It's going to be an interesting long summer to watch baseball. But Arizona right now, they got Billy's buddy there, Lourdes Gurriel, who's
hold on. Not only Gurriel, but you got to take a look at Marino's putting up some decent numbers in terms of Marino's being Marino, really 290 hitter, and that's not a stretch to say Marino can be a 285, 290 hitter, bat to ball skills, obviously limited power. That's not a stretch. That's not a surprise to anybody that knew him. And I asked Marty the other day off air, would there be a possibility that Arizona could have asked for Kirk and the Jays held back on Kirk and went Marino's way instead? And again, I was led to believe that that's not the case. And if the Blue Jays, I'll put it this way, if the Blue Jays had a choice between which catcher they'd give Arizona, and it came down to Kirk and Moreno, that's a terrible choice. Yep. Only Shakins and Shapiro would know that, right? And I'd be interested to know behind the scenes if the decision was made that we're keeping Kirk and we're sacrificing this kid. It'd be egregious if that were the case.
I think Billy, like I said to you when we talked, is I think outside the Jays organization, no one values Kirk like the Jays do. And I think they found out that. They probably did say, here's Kirk. Do you want him? No, we don't want him. So then they had to change course and see who they're going to give. Like Kirk's all trade rumors, and yet it never comes out that he's traded. Is that because everyone looks at it and sees what possibly you might get down the road? Injuries. We saw him 2 times in the last week be lazy on pop-ups behind him, not going to get it and dropping the ball. That to me is just uncalled for. You're in the MLB, buddy. Catch the ball. You expect that from a Pee-wee player, not a guy in the MLB. So it wouldn't surprise me if they offered Kirk and Arizona said there's not a chance in hell we will take Kirk.
All right. As you can see, I have to ask one question because the draft is coming up. NFL Blitz here. Billy, I'm going to go to you, and then we'll close it out here with a special announcement about the flagship show Fired Up Live on Thursday. Aaron Rodgers finally getting traded from the Green Bay Packers to the Jets. What do you expect? The Jets, of course, they're in my Buffalo Bills division now. And did they get enough for Aaron Rodgers?
Well, again, Aaron Rodgers is an interesting character. Kind of I'm torn when it comes to half of me thinks he's a dickhead, and the other half of me kind of respects the man for who he is and the numbers he's put up, and think he still has a little bit of ball in him. Again, it's hard to separate. I don't know how much he has left in the tank, but the Jets have a better chance to win with him at the QB spot than White or the other kid they had there last year. Make no mistake about it. Instant credibility to that offense. Everybody that looks at him in the huddle obviously has respect for the guy. So the Jets are a much better team now in terms of did Green Bay get what they should have got in terms of the flips of the first round picks and what have you. It's a hard market to judge, especially when you're dealing with a guy that's 39 and coming in at $50 million. That's a big salary to take, and that's a guy that's long in the tooth. But for a year or 2 years, Jets are a much better team than they were yesterday.
Marty, your Washington Commanders, did you put $2 in to buy the team yet?
No, I read too that there's land in Virginia or West Virginia that they're looking at building a new stadium there, and well, finally he's not going to own the team. That's a good thing for Washington, is that he's not going to own the team, and hopefully they can straighten some things up. But before we go, I want to ask this before we get off of the baseball topic. Your guys' thoughts on Max Scherzer. So he gets caught using some sticky stuff, right? He says he's going to appeal. He changes his mind. He says it was rosin and sweat. And David Cohn on Sunday Night Baseball showed what sweat and rosin does. And he held the baseball up, and it was totally stuck to his 2 fingers without falling off. Why would Scherzer not take that and appeal it? If it's showing that sweat and rosin does create sticky stuff, why would he be suspended for 10 games and not fight that? To me, I'm fighting that all day. When it was doing that sweat and rosin makes the ball stay, and Cohn held up, and it didn't even leave his fingers, didn't fall off, nothing. I was surprised that Scherzer did not appeal his 10-game suspension.
So there's obviously the only question there. If you're not appealing, and that's the case, then there's some more to it. They found something in his glove, or they asked him to change gloves. So it was more than what.
Well, they did ask him to change gloves, and he got another glove at that time. And brought up this one.
The issue with Scherzer, you're talking about a competitive guy, a maniac, reaching an age where he's losing a lot off his fastball, where he's not the same guy he was, and he'll do anything to still maintain some of the. His reputation and who the guy's been over the last 10 years. And if that requires a little sticky stuff or whatever the case, because Scherzer's nowhere close to the pitcher he once was, but he's getting paid rather handsomely to throw a baseball, right? So he's in a difficult spot at the tail end of his career as we watch the Winnipeg Jets ice the puck here with
we didn't watch that.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Minutes and 9 seconds left live on the Blue Jays zone.
I think you're dreaming about Norm's balls again. All right, Marty, go ahead. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, you can on Instagram, Twitter, at the 22.
All right, and Billy, of course, you could check him out, Rumac and the Greek, every Monday, 6 o'clock, or whenever the producer decides, whatever time. But here is a special sneak peek on who is coming to Fired Up Live this Thursday. You understand
What sneak peek?
no, hold on. If you understand the song to it, you will know it's somebody very famous. I'll play it because the Greek is stumped. The Greek is already knows who it is already. It's a 4-letter word. There you go. Thanks for watching Blue Jay Strike Zone on the Fired Up Network. Keep your fingers to yourself.